What the BBC did to Donald Trump was wrong on every level. It wasn't just about editing boring bits from a conversation to splice two more interesting bits together. It was deliberately misleading. This wasn't someone who accidentally pressed a button and got it wrong. This is someone who pressed all the right buttons and took time to edit and splice a film to make it look like the Donald Trump was asking for violence at the Capitol, at the White House. And that wasn't the case at all. So they've been caught out. It's caused high-ranking resignations. But even at this stage, the high-ranking resignations aren't enough, are they? Someone else has come out. I'll tell you his name. Hang on, my phone's locked me out. Hold on. Give us a minute. Jonathan Munro, another high-ranking BBC executive who's defended the doctored Trump videos. He says it's normal. Well, we know it's normal to cut out boring bits and splice it together, but it's not normal to deliberately mislead, is it? Is it normal? Or are you actually admitting to that's it, we normally do, like just chop it all about till we get the message we want? This is not the way you do news. That's not news, that's opinion. That's narrative. That's twisting something to make people believe something is X when it's really Y. That's unforgivable for the state broadcaster who takes our money off us to afford to watch any sort of live TV. It should be self-funded. We shouldn't have to pay for it, that's for sure. And we need more than resignations. So I ask this question. There it is, in plain sight. They've doctored a video to make Donald Trump look like he was asking for violence. And this was the week coming up to a presidential election. So is that interfering with a state election? Donald Trump's threatening to sue for $1 billion. I think he should, but who's going to pay? Because the BBC have no money. They have our money. So who's going to get lumbered with that if they lose the case? I think they would lose the case. So it's a big conundrum, is this? And what you've got to look at, the big question I have is, when did it all go wrong? When did the BBC start being so biased? Maybe they've always been so biased, we just didn't have the facilities to find out about them. Look at the coverage through lockdown. When they claimed, the BBC, it didn't come from any other outlet, other outlets jumped on the bandwagon, it was the BBC who claimed that 4 out of 5 hospital cases were unvaccinated. That was a lie. So where did that come from? Because all of the other publications copied the BBC. They really went to town during lockdown. But before that, what other things have they lied about? Well, the biggest one that I question is, how did they not know about Jimmy Savile? Jimmy Savile, a prolific offender in his department, if you know what I mean, without going through the sordid details, and they were the most sordid details. This is an establishment, 4 or 5 floors of different people, full of researchers, full of investigative journalists at the time. Remember, Esther Ranson's show used to go on, and various investigative panorama. But all these people who used to investigating things couldn't see what was in front of their face, a prolific offender. I'm not so sure about his relationship with Prince Charles. People say, that was dodgy. But the way I look at it, if you look back in the day, and I'm old enough to remember it as an adult, Prince Charles wasn't very popular. His wife was more popular. We all liked Diana. She was pretty, she was fun, and she showed that she loved her kids, whereas the normal royals that we have just waving a white glove and don't give anything away. So remember, back in the day, Prince Charles was not a popular figure. And if you look at the chronology of events, it was him that tapped Jimmy Savile up. Because Jimmy Savile was pushed out to us by the BBC as the #1 hero of the day. Jim will fix it for the kids. It's a nice opportunity for Jim, isn't it? Clunk click every trip on the government warning films for travelling in your car, trying to get you to wear your seatbelt, because that was back in the day before seatbelts were even low. So imagine the landscape back then. You've got Prince Charles, not very popular. Diana stealing all the limelight. The press love her. The public love her. You only have to look at a funeral to see how the public loved her. And you've Charles who can't get a look in. And then Charles causes up to Jimmy Savile. Because really, I think Charles was networking. Jimmy's friendship with King Charles, Prince Charles then, was immense kudos for him, and obviously his various awards that he got, his access to hospitals, the all-round good guy image. I mean, that was just, how did that happen? Go back to what I'm saying about the BBC. 5, 6 floors of people, personnel, all working there. Nobody knew Jill Dando's mysterious death when she was uncovering these door rings. When did the BBC start being so unscrupulous? When did it all go wrong? Because it looks to me like it's been wrong for a long time. But that's only my opinion. You have to come to your own conclusions. But nevertheless, the BBC has a lot to answer for, because they haven't covered news, and they've presented narrative, they've presented opinion and modelling, which is guesswork, as basically affirmed science, and it was never affirmed science. Even whether it's to do with the weather, or whether it's to do with what's gone on with the pandemic, it was never science done and dusted. Science is never finished. It's always evolving. So I don't trust the BBC, and thousands of people, well, I think you'll find this week an awful lot of people will cancel the licence. I've even had messages from people that I would never have dreamt would have cancelled a TV licence. Older people who I wouldn't have thought were savvy enough to understand that they can't do anything about it. You can still stream and you can still watch stuff on your computer as long as you're not watching live. So the thing is, I think the BBC is toast, and I think all we need is a government that will get to the bottom of this. All you need is, right, okay, we're going to deplete the licence fee, run it down over a period of a month, give them time to get set up. You can still watch your dramas, but just pay for streaming. It's not the BBC per se, it's not Strictly Come Dancing. Although we all know these people. Lawrence Fox told me, I said, how do you know if somebody's in entertainment or acting, and the left wing and the bias? And do you know what Lawrence said? He said they're still in work. So that tells you all you need to know. And people, I don't blame them for looking after their own heads, but they could do a bit, couldn't they? That said, I still stand by, if you're an ordinary person with a wage coming in and trying to run a business, and being outspoken affects that, you don't affect that. That's you can't fight anything if you're miserable or poor or in debt. You can't. Or ill. If you've got illness, don't worry about fighting. Leave that to somebody else who isn't ill. Don't try and do it while you're ill, unless it takes your mind off it, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, put yourself first. There's more and more people out there fighting. I've noticed that more people, ordinary people on Facebook, this is marvellous. I'm up to 162,000 followers on my personal page from 125 just 6 or 7 weeks ago, well, 2 months now. So always put yourself first. Have a think what I'm saying about the BBC, and let me see what you think in the comments.